The economic world was disrupted when the Rockefeller family amassed America's first billionaire fortune. As the rest of the nation grappled with financial uncertainty, the Rockefellers mastered wealth-building techniques unseen before. Their fortune, adjusted to $500 billion, remains a pillar of financial power in America. Ordinary citizens faced rising debts and living costs, trapping them in a cycle of financial distress. The Rockefellers, meanwhile, embraced ownership, strategic investing, and tax avoidance. John D. Rockefeller built the Standard Oil monopoly, later dismantled by antitrust actions. This breakup didn't deter his family's wealth accumulation. Rather, it diversified their assets. They created trusts and foundations, turning potential tax burdens into advantages. For 200 heirs, family trusts established in 1934 and 1952 secured vast wealth, around $10 to $11 billion today. The Rockefellers strategically avoided lifestyle inflation, focusing instead on long-term gains. Planned giving and philanthropy served dual purposes: public image and fiscal strategy. This triggering moment set a precedent and was just the beginning. Before Rockefeller's ascent, America's financial landscape was starkly different. Monopolies weren't commonplace, and the economy was decentralized and fragmented. The foundation was unstable, lacking clear regulations and uniformity in financial dealings. Stock markets were still nascent, lacking sophisticated mechanisms seen in modern times. Most Americans worked manual jobs with limited growth opportunities, bound by rigid class structures. Financial literacy was rare. The focus was on daily survival, not future planning. Bank failures were common, eroding public trust in financial systems. Debt was primarily a tool for survival, not investment, unlike today's strategic leveraging. Consumption was driven by necessities rather than desires, a contrast to modern consumerism. The time was ripe for transformative change. Enter John D. Rockefeller's pioneering vision. His strategic foresight capitalized on this precondition, altering the financial playing field. This historical backdrop underscored the need for innovation, which the Rockefeller empire provided. The origin of Rockefeller's strategy lay in his keen understanding of oil's potential. Oil was emerging as a critical resource for industry and transportation in the late 1800s. John D. Rockefeller saw beyond immediate profits, envisioning oil as a keystone of future economies. He established Standard Oil in 1870, strategically acquiring competitors to control supply. This consolidation was unprecedented, rapidly propelling him to the forefront of industry. He navigated financial sectors, forging alliances that secured favorable rates and rebates. Logistic mastery and negotiation were vital components of his burgeoning empire. Standard Oil's control extended from wells to refineries and onward to distribution channels. The monopoly was notorious, but undeniably efficient, reducing costs through economies of scale. Public and political scrutiny increased, setting the stage for future regulatory interventions. This strategic origin wasn't merely about oil, it was a blueprint for sustained wealth generation. Rockefeller's ability to foresee and orchestrate economic landscapes showcased unparalleled vision. In the early phases of adoption, Rockefellers adapted their financial strategies with precision. Antitrust forces necessitated the dismantling of Standard Oil, opening new pathways for wealth. The breakup in 1911 targeted monopolistic practices, but the family's wealth strategies evolved. Segmentation into multiple companies, paradoxically, led to substantial individual segment growth. John D. Rockefeller's holding in these fragmented entities yielded significant returns. The early adoption of trusts and charitable foundations became pivotal to their wealth strategy. By forming the Rockefeller Foundation in 1913, tax mitigation was ingeniously combined with philanthropy. Their investments began diversifying into banking, real estate, and international ventures. Rockefeller Center's development marked a strategic geographic consolidation of assets. Trust structures provided for subsequent generations, ensuring access to amassed wealth. Indeed, the early adoption phase was characterized by adapting traditional capital into modern forms. This period set in motion financial strategies emulated by elites across the globe. The mechanism behind Rockefeller's success was intricate and multifaceted. They utilized family trusts to eschew burdensome estate taxes, preserving wealth across generations. Diversification into diverse sectors enabled risk management and sustained financial growth. Their investments in infrastructure and public goods improved their societal standing. The use of philanthropy as a tax shield demonstrated financial acumen intertwined with public benefit. Rockefeller's approach leaned heavily on reducing liabilities through sophisticated tax strategies. They understood the power of compounding investments in stocks, real estate, and industries. Asset ownership was prioritized, manifesting in substantial control over influential sectors. They avoided personal debt, instead leveraging business credit for strategic expansions. The Rockefeller heirs received financial education, ensuring knowledge transfer and continuity. Trusts not only preserved wealth, but institutionalized a culture of careful stewardship. The mechanism, both simple and sophisticated, revealed an enduring blueprint for wealth creation. Acceleration occurred as the Rockefeller principles diffused into a broader financial culture. Ownership and investment, once reserved for elites, began to permeate popular consciousness. Public recognition of these strategies led to wider adoption by emerging financial entities. During the mid-20th century, investment shifted from mere survival to wealth accumulation. The Rockefellers continued expanding their influence within banking sectors and international aid. By aligning with powerful global institutions, their financial architecture gained resilience. The family's practices gained esteem among burgeoning financial educators and strategists. Retaining control via trusts and foundations multiplied their impact across various domains. A fundamental shift in mindset allowed families to think generationally and strategically. Inflation and economic instability further highlighted the need for robust, adaptive wealth models. The acceleration wasn't just adoption, it was transformation of financial objectives globally. The Rockefeller methodology shaped ensuing financial norms and educational paradigms. Normalization solidified these techniques into the fabric of financial planning. Strategies once exclusive to elites became aim points for the informed public. Middle-class investors pursued ownership via stock markets and real estate, emulating elite practices. Institutions bolstered financial literacy, spreading awareness of foundational wealth strategies. Philanthropy evolved beyond altruism into a sophisticated financial strategy. Diversification became a standard investment approach, mirroring successful historical models. Trusts and estate planning emerged as critical components of personal finance literacy. The media's portrayal of affluence started to shift, emphasizing ownership and investment over consumption. Aspects of Rockefeller's strategies appeared in finance courses and economic curricula globally. The culture of debt began to counterbalance with saving, investing, and asset accumulation. Normalization illustrated the systemic permeation of strategic wealth management principles. This authoritative embrace marked a definitive shift in individual and institutional behaviors. The scale of Rockefeller influence was expansive in socio-economic terms. Their methods, adopted by other elites, perpetuated vast wealth concentration within top percentiles. The wealth gap widened, depicting stark contrasts in asset accumulation versus income dependency. Rockefeller Center symbolized this economic divide, an icon of concentrated wealth mid metropolitan sprawl. International expansions highlighted their reach, investing in Europe and developing economies. Their financial practices influenced policies in nations and sectors, shaping regulatory landscapes. Charts comparing top 1% wealth growth against lower economic strata unveiled significant disparities. The Rockefellers represented how financial strategies could disproportionately benefit a select few. Public perception often criticized this concentration of wealth and its broader societal impact. The global financial epicenter shifted geographically, reflecting these strategic investments. Techniques to leverage financial tools grew among the savvy, emulating systematic Rockefeller approaches. Inequities persisted, painting a complex picture of wealth's cultural and economic footprint. Power centers across the globe adopted similar wealth-building tactics. Major financial hubs, New York, London, Hong Kong, mirrored Rockefeller-inspired strategies. Banking institutions grew more sophisticated, leveraging information and capital at unprecedented scales. Globalization and the rise of multinational corporations spread these practices world over. Legacy wealth thrived, with financial dynasties cementing their influence across generations. The Rockefellers maintained symbolic and literal influence over these developments. Governmental policies sometimes reinforced rather than mitigated wealth disparity. Regulatory bodies faced challenges in tracking and curtailing such concentrated influences. Corporate structures adapted, becoming vehicles for multifaceted assets and estate planning. Financial power consolidated in fewer hands, intensifying the scrutiny of wealth disparity. Media narratives often clashed, depicting both admiration and critique of these power centers. The Rockefeller legacy exemplified ongoing dialogues around wealth, power, and societal responsibility. Points of fragility emerged within this wealth concentration paradigm. External economic shocks revealed vulnerabilities, despite apparent systemic strength. Mortgage crises, like 2008's recession, spotlighted risks tied to financial overleveraging. Financial regulation and transparency was scrutinized amidst calls for equitable wealth distribution. Public demand for accountability grew, questioning the mechanisms supporting elite prosperity. Public debt, inflation, and market instability threatened broader economic stability. Access to financial systems remained inequitable, prompting debates on inclusivity and reform. The Rockefellers, insulated by diversified holdings, weathered these storms, yet faced scrutiny. Imbalances perpetuated fragile systems, highlighting needs for reform at institutional levels. Sustainable financial practices became focal topics in academic and policy-making circles. Economic fragility inspired innovation, from fintech solutions to collaborative financial models. points of fragility underscored an urgent need for adaptability within systemic wealth management. Strategies to bridge economic divides began receiving attention alongside traditional models. Exposure and stress tests intensified public and private scrutiny of wealth systems. Broad access to financial education remained elusive, limiting ordinary people's wealth potential. The disparity between wealthy and non-wealthy diverted focus to taxing structures and growth limits. Family empires, like the Rockefellers, endured by innovating within existing frameworks. The intricate layers of trusts, foundations, and financial vehicles withstood public criticism. Navigation through legal landscapes became integral to maintaining wealth amidst scrutiny. Populations pushed for restructuring, aiming to dismantle barriers to economic mobility. Cultural changes urged transparency and ethical practices within established financial paradigms. Wealth's psychological impact garnered interest, influencing individual and community health. Deciphering complex financial systems often deterred broader participation and engagement. Exposure to fragile financial models prompted calls for reform and sustainable practices. This phase highlighted systemic resilience alongside daring calls for a balanced financial ecosystem. Why does this financial architecture still shape the present? The Rockefellers' strategies laid a template for modern finance, blending foresight with opportunism. Contemporary systems echo their lessons in asset distribution, ownership, and wealth accumulation. Markets now leverage data and analytics to enhance wealth building, akin to historical precedents. Emerging technologies empower new financial methodologies, yet foundational principles remain. The economic DNA traced back to Rockefeller's era endures in today's fiscal policies. Generational wealth transfer remains pivotal in wealth maintenance across families and regions. The necessity of diversified portfolios continues to guide both institutional and individual investors. The intersection of entrepreneurship and investment reflects enduring Rockefeller ideals. Challenges in addressing income inequality point back to systemic underpinnings established long ago. Public awareness continues to grow, sparking debates on wealth disparity and socio-economic reform. The narrative shaped by historical financial evolutions remains intensely relevant